They
Yep.
have a chance of actually having a pretty good season.
Yeah, he played a lot of the bench guys that we don't normally see until garbage time last night.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. Yeah, you were talking about Job. He had a pretty good night.
Yeah, 31 points.
Yeah. No, that's what happens when you stay in Europe for 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So is everybody set with their reservations to eat Chinese tomorrow?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to my the nursing home people, the rabbi and the doctor and the head nurse because we're talking about my brother's situation up there. Well, we finished the conversation. I wish two of them a Merry Christmas. And then I said to my sister and the rabbi, I said, and y'all have a good weekend. The rabbi said, what? You're not going to ask me where I'm going to eat Chinese? Well, I guess it's international. What can I say?
Lori, tell Lisa she's muted.
Yeah, looks like Lisa's muted.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom. Yes, ma'am.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Work
shalom.
called around this
Shabbat shalom.
afternoon and had a hard time finding someone that was open, a place that was open tomorrow. Anyway, we are, I guess you didn't hear me tell you that we're live on YouTube.
No.
Sorry about that.
Came up on the screen.
Is Adam ready with the organized leadership?
No, Adele's doing it.
Adele. Oh, then it'll be.
And then and it's not organized because Adele's doing it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's like organization doesn't really match up with everybody else's.
Adam, what is your backdrop tonight? It's not something special. It's just a basic.
You know what? I'm gonna change that here in just 1
I
second.
think you should, because we didn't
Shabbat
recognize
shalom,
you.
everybody. We're going to get started.
Okay.
And it's my pleasure to welcome you all for our Shabbat service. Adele's on the slide deck tonight, so thank you so much. And I'm just going to mute everybody while we get started. And we're going to begin, whoops. We just need to go back to the beginning of the slide deck. I think if you just do the numbers and go back to 1, it'll work. Or you could do it that way. There we go. We're going to begin our worship this evening with Hine Matov. There we go. Is there somebody who would be willing to light the Shabbat candles either in your home or using the candles that will magically appear on the next slide?
I will be glad to do it again.
Wonderful, thank you.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu v'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Thank you, Steve. I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics and no services, but I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. And we continue with L'chadodi. A legend. When we come home on the Sabbath evening, we're accompanied by two angels, the good angel of peace and the spirit of evil. If upon arrival, the angels find the table finally set, the Shabbat candles aglow, and all of the family attired in festive garments, ready to bless the day of rest, then the good angel says, may next Shabbat and all your future Shabbat evenings be like this one. Peace and joy be upon this dwelling. and the spirit of evil is forced to say, Amen. But if the house is not in order, if no preparations have been made for the Shabbat, if none within have joyously sung, come, let us greet the bride Shabbat, then the spirit of evil exults and says, may all your Shabbats be like this. And the angel of peace, weeping in sadness, is compelled to respond, Amen. To each of us is given the power to determine which angel shall bless our home and which shall say, Amen. Yitkadav yitkadav shemei Rabba, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv, V'imeru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevarach, Le'alam le'al me'amaya, Yitbarach. Sorry. Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitrama v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yidalev v'yitalal, Shemei de Kudesha Brichu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Da'amiran b'yama, V'imeru Amen. We join together in our call to worship the Baruch Hu. Would somebody like to read this prayer?
I'll read it.
Thank you, Kim.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Avarim.
Thank you, Kim. One more, please.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
I can't hear anything.
Are you frozen?
Now I can hear you. I'm sorry.
Could you advance it one more, please? There we go. Thanks. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, Adonai Elohechem emet. Would someone like to share this reading?
I can do it.
Thank you, Sandra.
Okay. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there, except by joining hands and marching together.
Thank you. שנאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל Yisrael. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporesh sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, va'asat et ha-Shabbat lidorotam b'ridolam. Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, va'asat et ha-Shabbat lidorotam b'ridolam. Bein Yuvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam b'ridolam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'yet ha'aretz. Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam b'ridolam. Ubayom hashvi'i, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Beshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam b'ridolam. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There's a song on the wind and joy in the trees. The Sabbath arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night. Eternity utters a day. We continue with the tefillah. Adonai sefatai tifta, ufi agit milatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot. Umevi Geulah Livnei Bneihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, בלי שני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Who would like to share this reading?
Okay. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction among a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet, sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric of prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and that the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Sabbath be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai she'otkach lahavah. Yeah. Okay. Have Shabbat. Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Would someone like to share this one?
I'll read it if no one else wants to volunteer. Ever-present one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land, in Zion restored, in all lands, you are our God, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha vayira na'avod.
Thank you, Steve. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us, we mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the world. Baruch atah Adonai, Hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. Ki atah melech lechol hashalom. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael. B'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rabba Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We take a moment for silent reflection, accompanied by Mike Stern. Our thoughts turn to those in need of healing of mind, body, and spirit, those in our community, those close to our community. Barbara Arno, Marcy Berman, Carol Castro, Isaac Cohen, Sarah Cohen, Sylvia Cohen, Susan Cooley, Kate Cosby, Bruce Dalby, Carolyn Dowland, Stuart Doutlin, Don Elmore, Steve Feynman, Bernice Fischel, Justin Folk, Barbara Frisbee, Michelle Harvard, Matt Kiefer, Jenna Lesser, Olivia Martinez, Dennis Martin, Jean McPhee, Dan McShane, Mike McNearney, Tom Moore, Marge Muldoon, Charles Patrick, Ruth Ann Paul, Ken Samet, Diana Samuels, Bruce Schlossberg, Ron Stevens, April Singer, Emilio Vasquez, Susan Weber, Marcia Gorenwesser, and Kay Williams. Are there others for whom we are praying for healing this Shabbat?
Kathy Lowe and Kay Smith.
Thank you.
Harriet
Carter.
Rich, oh, I'm sorry.
Mike
Go ahead.
Carter and Jerry Grant.
Thank you.
Harriet Richmond and Keith Shemke.
Thank you.
Jacob Blake, David Fishelman.
Thank you.
Gary Poole and the Kiri Core family.
Thank you.
I'll throw in Aubrey Falkowitz.
Thank you. Rabbi Brian Denker. For those who've been named and for those we name in our hearts, we say, Mishaberach Avotenu v'imotenu Abraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah v'yivarech et hacholim shalanu. Hakadosh Baruch Hu yimalei rachamim aleihem lahachalimam ularapotam ulahachazikam v'yishlach lahem mehera refuah shlema min hashamayim refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf hashtaba galav izman kariv v'nomar amen. And we continue with the Misha Berach that we sing. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. Shabbat Shalom. This Shabbat, we begin reading the book of Exodus, which tells two key narratives of Jewish history: the Exodus from Egypt and the receiving of Torah. When they are joined together, with the creation narrative of Genesis, these three stories constitute the basic theology of Judaism, which is enshrined in our liturgy in the blessings before and after the Shema prayer. The opening parsha of the book, also called Shemot, names, presents us with a number of challenging questions. Why has it taken God more than 400 years to respond to the pain of the enslaved Israelite people? Why doesn't God simply go down to Egypt and rescue them without the help of Moses? Why does God harden Pharaoh's heart, preventing him from being morally responsible and keeping the people enslaved? Who is this God who, when asked to identify God's self, says, Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, which we'll translate in a little bit. It has always struck me as both strange and amazing that God does not act alone. God works through human beings. In pondering this phenomenon, I came to realize that God does not intervene in any way, in any direct way in human affairs. God's role is as a source of inspiration and encouragement to us humans to create a world of justice, compassion, freedom, and peace. Only if we are so moved by the harsh realities of human suffering and are committed to relieving that suffering, can we hear the call. God says, I have marked well the plight of my people in Egypt and have heeded their outcry because of their taskmasters. I will send you to free my people. When a person responds, Hineni, here I am, as Moses does, God has the means to act through and in partnership with that person. The choice of Moses as rescuer of the Israelites is interesting. Moses himself had been rescued from death as an infant. He was raised in Pharaoh's palace as the son of Pharaoh's daughter and knew well the halls of absolute power and despotism, but resisted their attractions, identifying instead with his people of origin, the Israelite slaves. When Moses sees an Egyptian taskmaster striking a Hebrew slave, his response to oppression is to rise up in anger and kill, deliberately or by accident, the taskmaster. Then, when the deed becomes known to others, Moses flees to Midian to save his own life. His first act in Midian is to defend Zipporah and her sisters from the shepherds who try to prevent them from watering their father's sheep. Clearly, Moses' sense of justice is not limited to filial connections, but extends to the stranger as well. Moses remains in Midian, marries Zipporah, and becomes a shepherd. As he goes about the work of shepherding his father-in-law's sheep, which requires compassionate diligence and to protect and care for the flock, Moses encounters a strange vision, a bush that burns but is not consumed. He is drawn to the light and then is summoned by God to become the shepherd of Israel. Humility and self-doubt cause him to try to reject the mission, but God overwhelms Moses' fear and his natural inclination to simply remain in Midian with the sheep by invoking the same plaintive cry that awoke God from more than 400 years of seeming indifference. Ultimately, it is Moses's and God's joint compassion that now drive them to go to Egypt and confront the daunting task of convincing Pharaoh to free the Israelite slaves. They do this while taking on the even more daunting task of convincing the Israelite slaves, who by this time have little reason to believe that redemption is even possible, that they will be freed. God promises Moses that he will not be alone. And in effect, Moses promises God that God will not be alone either. Let's pause for a moment to consider Moses's conversation with God. Moses said to God, "When I come to the Israelites and say to them, 'The God of your ancestors has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is God's name? What is his name? What shall I say to them?' And God said to Moses, 'Ehyeh asher ehyeh.'" God does not believe the names God and the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob are convincing enough. He wants something much more explicit. These are kind of generic names, like the name God. Moses wants a name that spells out the exact nature of this God who wants to redeem them. After all, everyone wants clear proof. It is wonderful to see, both at the beginning of his career and later, when Moses faces the frustration of leading the Jewish people through the desert, that he persists in seeking even greater intimacy with God to give him the confidence to proceed with his mission. If doubt exists for Moses, it is not surprising that we ourselves have doubts. God presents him with the wonderfully enigmatic name, Ehyeh asher ehyeh. What has God told Moses and us about God's self? Volumes have been written in response to this question. So what does this mean? Ehyeh asher ehyeh is written in the future tense. I will be what I will be. I believe that God has said something like this: I am whatever you want me to be. I am whatever you need me to be. You cannot know my essence, but we will have a relationship. And that relationship will evolve over time. I am a complex reality that can be experienced, but not defined or limited by language. That is who I am and who I will be. Why then, when we seem to need God, does God often seem to be absent? I suggest that perhaps it is not God, but we who are absent, not yet ready to take up the mission and make the world better. God is always present and calling, but only our action can make God's will, hopes, and dreams a reality. God seems to be able to act only when divine empathy and human empathy work in concert. The divine-human partnership makes tikkun olam, repairing the world, possible. God's seeming indifference is the result of human indifference to suffering and injustice. God's responsiveness depends on human responsiveness. I pray that this week and every week we remember that for God to create a world of justice, compassion, freedom, and peace, God needs for us to step up and do our part, to be God's partners in tikkun olam, repairing our broken world. It is through this partnership that we each can define our own relationship with the Holy One. Ehyeh asher ehyeh. Ken Yehi Ratzon. May this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom. David.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I know when reflecting, listening to you, there have been times when I've had some people say, you know, God's will and an equivalent to let George do it, which is not the way I think it's supposed to work. Want to welcome everybody. I've noticed in passing that we have 14 people showing up on a night when actually even Jewish families have some other places they could go and some holiday vacations to take and things like that. So you're especially welcome. Also in that line, since you're all home. Anyway, if a guy with a pregnant wife happens to show up at your front door, letting him in probably wouldn't hurt. Coming up, there's an interfaith community symposium sponsored by Mayor Nirenberger. It's going January 11th. It's going to be running from 8:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon. Community needs that can be related to the faith community. Quite a few speakers. We've got all congregations are invited to send a team. We've got 2 people on board. Anybody else who would like to have an interesting day and can be up and moving in time for an 8:30 start, please let Lisa know. She can send you the registration packet. And hopefully Congregation Shalom will have a reasonably good size contingent there. Also coming up, at a date to be arranged, a number of us need to get together to go through the storage unit, inventory the temple property, particularly for insurance purposes. Also, we need to organize it in a way that somebody who is getting into it can actually find what they're looking for without unpacking the whole storage unit. Expect maybe a couple phone calls or something like that. If you have the time and lower back function, please consider pitching in. Okay. Running January 11th through February 1st, Lisa will be presenting Exploring the Prayer Books of the Major Jewish Movements. It promises to be very interesting. And we're announcing it in advance so that anybody with small children will have time to find a babysitter. Okay. Coming up, we didn't have a congregation meeting in December. We are having one in January. We got it, as I understand. Sorry, I'm 10 days in with 3-day virus here. Sunday, January 16th at noon. I believe I got that, Lisa?
I believe you're right.
Yep. Okay. We will have a number of items on the agenda. Some coming year items, some liturgy items. There'll be a list. And we're penciling in our first in-person service for the year on January 21st. This is pending are having somebody volunteer the use of their house. Asaf. We're hoping to make it the third Friday of each month, kind of working on, so folks don't have to bounce back and forth. So as I said, yeah. If your house is available, or if one of your one of your neighbors is going to be out of town that weekend, we'll go with that. Again, I think Lisa or one of us will be calling around to see what we can do. Okay, Lisa, I think that's all I've got. Back to you.
All right. Thank you. If you did, by the way, if you did say yes or maybe, you should expect a call from me to volunteer in your home for services. So we're going to continue with the concluding portion of our service, beginning with Aleinu L'Shabeach. In just a moment. There we go. Awesome. Thank you. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer breshit, shehu noteh shamayim v'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'al, u'shchinatu zo b'govhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu ein od, va'anachnu kore'im u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yihi Adonai echad u'shemo echad. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have taken into our hearts with our own. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. We recall Arthur Whiteman, husband of Lorraine Whiteman, mother of Michelle Hitchcock and Alan Whiteman, who was laid to his rest yesterday. We remember Lucille Grizzo, mother of John Elmore, Julia Adler, my grandmother, Joan Prather, mother of Barbara Silverstein, whose anniversary of their deaths is remembered this Shabbat. We remember 10 people who perished in the Holocaust: Elise Mager, Annie Di Miranda, Bogeltia Morpurgo, Irma Muller, Martha Newhouse, Cynthia Nykirk, Adele Sarah Levy, Fietia Lirens, Marianne DeLever, Henny Linhart. Are there others who are observing a yard site or remembering somebody for Kaddish this Shabbat?
Al Levin.
Thank you. Zichronam livracha, their memories are an abiding blessing as we turn to the words of the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chilutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'b'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam l'omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehi shlamar abamin shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace on high send peace to all who are bereaved, as we say, amen. We're going to conclude with Adon Olam. We're going to be a little irreverent, being that it's Christmas Eve. Just go with me on it. I don't know lama share my love, Terem Hoyetir Nivra, Yekar Salvich, Lashim Omikra, Yacharek Yaflotako, Levadohim Nochnora, Buhaya Vivavana, Hoya Vitifara. Oh, I don't know love, I don't Sorry, Adele. I know that went really fast.
It was throwing me a little.
It was fast even for me, but fun. Who would like to lead us in the Kiddush this evening? Going once, going twice.
Oh, I'll do it.
I got it.
I was hoping you would.
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have a Christmas ditty for it, so just have to go with the old standby.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I knew you'd be disappointed, Steve. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron l'maseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'charta v'yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. Ho, ho, ho.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lachem min haaretz b'tei avon